Hello guys, and welcome back to another video where I get to talk about all the books that I'm reading. I love making these videos because it just feels like I'm chatting with friends about what's going on in my life, which I spend tons of time reading, more now than I have in a really long time, since college really. So I'm absolutely loving getting back into reading, and if you've been following along, this is actually the third video I've made this year about the books that I've been reading. I've been slacking on my goals. Every year I make a reading goal of like 10 or 12 books, and then I come like 3 or 5 or something. So this year I decided to be ambitious, and basically, okay, last year I didn't read any books in the first 6 months, and all like 7 of the books that I read were near the end of the year. And so I was like, I think I can do it. I think I can read 24 books next year, 2 books a month. I have total faith in myself. And I've started out really, really strong. If you watched my previous video where I talked about the books I read from January to March, there was quite a few books, and a lot of those were read in like January and February. And it's been, you know, just as all New Year's resolutions, it's been kind of slowly dropping off, but I'm happy to report that as of today, I am still 3 books ahead of schedule. So it's not like the 7 or 8 ahead of schedule that I was in January, but I'm totally happy that I'm keeping up with it. And it's the more I read, the more I want to read. I'm excited to finish some of the series I'm working on and to get started into new series or things that I just read a really, really long time ago. So I'm super excited, and I hope that you guys are excited to listen to me talk about the books I love. I hope that that's entertaining for you. Okay, so let's go ahead and get into it. Honestly, I don't have a ton to say in this video. At least I can't think of a ton to say right now, because of the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 of the 8 books I read, 5 of them are all from the same series. So, you know, it's all just one big story. These are those 5. The Little House on the Prairie series, that's what I've been reading. So I accidentally read them out of order because I was pretty naive when I started, I guess. I started with Little House on the Prairie because that's what I always heard about. And then I learned that that was like then I was like, oh, that's not the first one in the series, it's the second one. And then, so then I went back and read Little House in the Big Woods, and then I was like, oh, it's not even the second one, it's the third, because the second one is technically Farmer Boy. So I had to go back and read that one. This one I loved. I don't know why. I just really enjoyed the stories in this book. And I don't know, I think I loved having a male protagonist. I loved like the switch up of it. I feel like I'm a lot like Laura in a lot of ways. I can be very strong and outspoken, and the same struggles that she has to like learn to be ladylike and meek and humble, those are some of the same issues that I have. Like, she's just very quick to speak, and I definitely resonate with that. And so I think it was cool to just get a break from relating so much to the character, and just, I don't know, he's just so good, and it didn't make me feel bad about myself because he was so good. It just restored my faith in, you know, that there are young men that are good. And to be completely honest, I have a slight fear. If you don't know my story, I do have one daughter, and I am a little bit scared to have a son because I grew up, both my older sibling and my next sibling down were both girls, and then my brother is 8 years younger than me. And so I feel like I've always been around girls. Most of the people in my family are girls. I feel like raising a boy just feels like a foreign concept to me, but reading this book somehow eased some of that. And I was just like, you can raise young men to be good and to be gentlemen and to be chivalrous and to do what's right. So if I find out I'm having a boy, I will probably read this a few times. I genuinely loved this book. And then, so then I had to skip forward to, I guess this is technically the 4th one in the series, On the Banks of Plum Creek. I liked this one. It was good, but it was the middle of the pack for me. The next one was By the Shores of Silver Lake. Yeah, this one, again, pretty middle of the pack. Probably one of my least favorites so far. It was just a little, I loved the prairie ones, like the Plum Creek and the Little House on the Prairie and the Little House in the Backwoods. I liked those. I liked the setting of them. This one feels a lot more like the Old West, and it's just not really my thing. So it was okay. I don't know. Yeah, it was just okay. And definitely as she gets older, there's definitely more sad things that happen to her. So like the first few are very light, and then as you go, it definitely is a little bit more sad and dark. Like The Long Winter. This book was sort of depressing. I think that the whole family was experiencing depression, but they just didn't have the word for it. But they were all, like, they just all talk about how tired they are, and they just feel like they're half asleep and they're unmotivated and they don't like to do anything anymore and they don't find joy in anything, and they all almost starve to death. So it's just like a really, really depressing book, but there is light at the end of the tunnel and things do get better. And so it's not a total write-off at all. And just because it's sad and depressing doesn't mean it's not worth reading. It just is different than what I was maybe expecting from a children's series. But I think it's also, it taught so many lessons in gratitude and contentment and thankfulness. So it was definitely good. It just didn't bring as much joy to me to read it. So there's that one. And then Little Town on the Prairie, kind of the same as The Long Winter. It wasn't as sad or depressing, and there's definitely more, it was almost more frustrating. Like some of the people in it, I just was so frustrated. Like Laura's finally becoming, you know, an adult. She's like 15, 16 in this book. She's finally becoming more of an adult. And I think she's starting to see things through an adult lens rather than through the childish lens that everything else in her life has been. And so she's just starting to realize that like not all people are good and not all people are right. And I don't know, it was just very eye-opening for her and for me when I read this. So this one I actually just finished. And so I've already started on the next one, which I will get to. I have 3 more books to talk about, and then I'm going to talk about the books that I am currently reading that hopefully will be in my next one of these recap videos. But some of them I've been reading for a really, really long time, so I'm not even sure that they'll make it. But I did just want to like touch on what is hopefully to come, so you'll see the next book in the series when we get there. So the next 3 books that I am going to talk about are all books that I've been using to supplement my Bible study. And actually all 3 of these books specifically I did in Bible study groups. So the first one that we did was Sanctified, Set Apart for a Purpose, a study of 1st and 2nd Peter by Christy Huntsman. So this was a really good book. I loved deep diving into 1st and 2nd Peter. They're great books. I think they have so many important themes in them. So I genuinely love this. And again, I relate so much to Peter as a person. Again, a very outspoken, bold individual who sometimes had trouble bridling his tongue, but just spoke so clearly and so truthfully and honestly. And I just really enjoy reading that style of writing because it resonates with me deeply. So I really enjoyed this, and I did this study with a group of ladies from church. On Tuesdays, I have a morning Bible study with some of the stay-at-home moms and retired women. So it's a little bit of an older demographic. And then Tuesday evenings, I study with some of the young moms, and we actually meet over Zoom on Tuesday evenings. So Tuesday is a very eventful day for me. We're actually right now in a season of both studies where we're taking a short break because we just happen to like finish up our studies and stuff. So Tuesdays have been a little bit easier recently, but I'm excited to get back into the Bible study groups when the time comes. But the book that I just finished with my younger women, like the young moms or the unmarried, or I think we're all married, but some of us are moms and some of us are not moms, but we're all kind of in that same age range of like 20s and early 30s. And we just finished this book, Rachel and Leah, What Two Sisters Teach Us About Combating Comparison by Nikki Kozinski. Causera. I don't know. Anyways, again, this book was really good. I have never paid that much attention to Rachel and Leah. They are characters in the Old Testament in the book of Genesis, if you don't know. So Abraham, they married Abraham's grandson. So in that era of time, and it was really, really good. It was, again, just very, like, it challenged me in such a good way. So I really enjoyed this. I will say, I don't know, I preferred the other two books a little bit more than this one, just because I felt like this one kind of, I don't know, I couldn't follow it as well sometimes. I was like, okay, I see the point that you're trying to say, and I totally understand the passage that we're reading, but I don't necessarily understand how the two are connecting. So I think some things were a little bit more forced for the sake of saying what she wanted to say, rather than truly following what the passage was saying, which, I don't know, I guess it depends on how you can compartmentalize those types of things, but it was good. The themes were really good, and the study was really good, but near the end it got a little bit, you know, whatever. But like, I would totally recommend that to people. I thought it was very good, especially for a group study, because I think it was so good for us to just like be so honest and vulnerable about some of our struggles, and it brought us all closer together, which is one of the biggest goals of doing a group Bible study. So absolutely love that. All right, the last one is Reflections on Women of the Bible by Heather Pryor. So this went through, and different chapters focused on different women. So there was a chapter on Eve, on Ruth, on Bathsheba, on Abigail, the woman at the well, on Dorcas, on Mary, on all different women. And then each one would have like kind of a mirror image. That's what they call it, a mirror image side study. So it's kind of someone that like maybe didn't have as much, I wanted to say screen time. I guess I mean like, doesn't have as much page space. I don't know. Like we don't know as much about them, or I don't know. She just maybe felt like she couldn't make a whole study out of them. And so like, let me see if I can find a good one. So like the first chapter was Eve, and the mirror image study was Priscilla and Sapphira. So 2 different characters for the side study. But yeah, it was really good. I felt like it was super eye-opening. She gives so much cultural background to things that I had never really realized. And then also I just think it was really, I don't know, it's just good to be reminded of what a good godly woman is supposed to do, and sometimes it can feel very intimidating when we study books like this, but I personally love it, because even though it's intimidating, I find it so inspirational, and it really convicts me to just do better and be a better person. So I loved going through this study, and again, this was in my morning study, so I loved having kind of the wisdom of some of the older generations when we were talking about being a mother or being a wife. I thought it was just a very beautiful experience. So I really loved that. And in that study, we've already picked our next book. So we're going to pick that back up really soon. So I'm excited for that. And then these are the books that I've been working on. I read multiple books at a time. I'm not like a one book at a time type of person. So that's kind of why this situation is kind of bare, because even though it's 8 books, but like, for one, I don't control the pace that we go for our Bible study books, so I only get through them as quickly as we get through them. But also I can't control, like, I'm always going to be reading multiple books if I'm part of multiple Bible studies. You know what I mean? Like, for instance, one of the books that I'm reading right now is The Great Divorce by C.S. Lewis. I'm reading this with my Sunday small group. We're reading this together, and so I don't dictate the pace that we go. We do a chapter every time that we meet, but we can't meet every single Sunday. Sometimes there's things going on. So, we're more than halfway through the book, but yeah, I would have loved to have already finished this and had this included in the video, but again, I don't always decide the pace that we go. So, but while I have this book, I'll just tell you, I absolutely love it. It's a really, really good book. So I highly recommend, if you love Lewis, read this one, or if you just love reading, it is a fictional book. It's narrative. And just so nobody gets confused. Because it is about like the afterlife, and if you read the preface, he does say that, I beg readers to remember this is a fantasy. It has, of course, or I intended it to have, a moral, but the transmortal conditions are solely an imaginative supposal. They are not even a guess or a speculation at what may await us. The last thing I wish is to arouse factual curiosity about the details of the afterworld. Just keep that in mind when you're reading it. We, as a group, have had to like remind ourselves multiple times, like, this doesn't align with scripture, and that is okay, because he is not trying to write something that is a doctrine. Like, he is totally aware that this is just supposed to be thought-provoking, you know, of how we act now in the life that we have. So I totally love this book. I can't wait to finish it, and that will totally be in my next recap video, because it will not take us that long to finish. Like, I doubt I'll have another one of these out before the last one of the year. I meant to make 4, but I put this one off a couple of months because I just had only read a few books. So I kept putting this one off till I had a little bit more. So I will probably only have one more of the year, and this will totally be done by then. Another book that I've been reading, which I have been reading actually for a really, really long time, and I haven't picked it up in a few months, but it's Hashimoto's Protocol by Isabella Wentz. And I do enjoy it. It's just, I feel like I'm doing things to help my Hashimoto's, and they're working for me, and I'm not really interested in hearing a lot of her opinion as of right now, because I'm comfortable where I'm at. But I do intend to finish it just to broaden my my understanding of this diagnosis that I have and how I can do things to help it. I think it won't hurt. I just kind of needed to like take a bite, and I'm chewing on it for a while, and hopefully I'll be ready for more bites later. But I hope to not abandon this book, but I guess you never know. And I've heard kind of mixed reviews about it. Some people feel like she's just trying to sell supplements. I don't know, because I haven't even made it that far. So another book I totally intend to have done by the next recap is The Silmarillion by J.R.R. Tolkien. And this one is a thick, she's thick, okay? So I'm this far in, right? Like, I finished this little portion. I still have all of this to go. I love it. It's so good. And if you like The Lord of the Rings and you like The Hobbit, you may not like this. It's very different. It doesn't really feel like you're reading a story as much as you're reading a history book or maybe the Bible. It definitely follows characters and their stories, but it's a lot of like this place and this person and like all of the names. You have to like remember all the names and all the places, and so it really feels like you're studying something more than you're just like reading. It's not like, this is a big brain book. Like, it takes a lot of brain capacity to read this. So I cannot just like read this in the car. I have to like sit down. Okay, there's maps that come along with it. I have to like get my maps out, lay them out. In the back, there's like different guides of who people are, and there's a dictionary, and there's pronunciation guides and stuff. And so I'm like always like flipping back and forth and cross-referencing and making notes in the margins. So this is like, it's not easy. It's definitely a tough one. So I highly recommend it if you feel like that's your style. If you don't, then you'll probably hate it. So don't bother, I guess. Okay, the last 2 books that I have to talk to you guys about are the books that I am reading the most actively. So the first one I've read before, it's Candide by Voltaire, and this is a really good book. It's hilarious and weird and silly sometimes. It's a satirical piece, so it's supposed to be like that. And I don't know, I just really love it. And I find so many, like, there's so many things that I underline. I'm like, that's so profound. And then I turn the next page and I'm like, oh, here's another one. I gotta underline it. So it's just really, really good. I'm actually reading this for a project that will hopefully be coming pretty soon. So I'm excited to share that with you guys. But so I've been doing research into like Voltaire as a person. This book actually has so many good resources in it. Like it has a timeline of like relevant events to the book. It has a timeline of Voltaire's life. It has, you know, notes, like footnotes basically in the back. And then it also has interpretive notes. It has character guides. So this has been really, really helpful because the project I'm working on, I need to research a lot of that stuff. So it's been helpful to have it all in this book. Yeah, I really like this, but it's definitely different. It's not gonna be like reading Colleen Hoover or even like the Harry Potter series. So, and I don't know that I would recommend this if you haven't read anything kind of like this before. I would definitely recommend reading some Lewis first, reading some philosophical things, reading things, you know, that aren't just like fictional narratives and stuff. It's a really, really good book. It's just not the easiest entrance into it. So, I love it. I love it. I think it's great. So if you ever kind of once you've eased yourself into these types of books and you're ready for a really good one, this one's it. That one's a good one. So this is the last book, and I'm super excited to talk about the Silmarillion and Candide and this one in my next recap. They all should totally be in there, as well as hopefully the rest of the Little House series. I just started this. I'm like one chapter in, but I am loving the looks of it. These happy golden years. I'm like, yes, bring me some more joy. Bring me some good times, some wins. And it seems like she's got a love interest, which is Mr. Wilder, obviously. Yeah, so I'm just excited to have a little romance in this series and to see like what a new marriage, because this is where I'm at in my life. Like, I'm newly married, and so well, actually the next book is called The First 4 Years, so that's probably when she's like married and stuff. So I'm just really excited for this book and the next book. Just, I don't know, to compare like how things are different now to what they were before, and they just seem happier and good. So I'm very excited to finish this series up. Hopefully I'll have it done in the next week or two, because I just have these 2 books left. And then she has other things that she's written, which I totally want to read. She has like this whole big list in the back of other things that are technically outside of the series, but are related and stuff. So, but I have other things that I need to read first before I move on to those. I have a whole stack of books. And if you watched my video of what I would want to read this year in January, you'll know what some of those are. I really want to read the Chronicles of Narnia all the way through. And I would love to reread Anne of Green Gables. And reading this series has only made me want to read Anne of Green Gables even more. So I need to discipline myself a little bit and like read some of the things that I've had on my to-do list that I've never read before, because I've read Anne of Green Gables before when I was like 12. So it's been like 15 years almost since I read those. But I need to like sit down and read some other things first, and then I can reward myself with Anne of Green Gables. So yes, I don't know. So those are the books that I've been reading. Those are the books I'm currently reading and hope to finish soon. And I'm just really excited to keep sharing this journey with you guys. Thank you for holding me accountable, because these videos have definitely been a motivator for me to read when sometimes I don't feel like it. I'm like, oh, I gotta read another book because I gotta make that video. So I've just been really, really loving it, and I really appreciate you guys watching and listening. If you're still here, I'm just really excited to finish out this year super strong. You know, I feel like I'm in a season right now where the summer was hard, but I've been revived and refreshed, and I'm ready to just finish out my to read, to be read list, whatever, to read, to be read list. So thank you again for watching this video, and I am so excited to have you guys join in with me for the next one as well. So make sure you subscribe so you don't miss that upload, and I will see you then. Bye.